Das ist ja perfekt mit dem, oder?
Ja. Und jetzt den Link.
Ist das der
Kannst du
Link?
den gleich mal?
Ist das der Link?
Ja, ich schick den gleich
Probier.
mal rein.
Ich schick's kurz auf Signal zu dir und du testest schnell, okay? Und in welches? Einfach Marketing oder Talk? Oder ins Talk? Ich habe ins Talk und Tag Natalie. Ja, ich glaube, es funktioniert. Ansonsten ist das, glaube ich, der Link. Schau, das ist, glaube ich, der Link.
Du bist live, Lilia, das ist nicht so ein Blödsinn.
Du bist live. Wir sind live.
Oikos heißt raus. Das ist Englisch. Raushalten.
Ich glaube, das ist eine Abkürzung.
Ja. Das ist der volle Name.
Das ist der volle Name. Wir haben ihn nicht rausgesucht. Ja, wenn Sie so. Ist echt gut? Ist echt gut, Herr Jürgen, weiter sagen? Ja. Ist da. Hallo.
Hallöchen.
Wir versuchen eine Migration alle schaffen, das ist nicht sehr aber bis jetzt hatten wir letztes Semester Elbe gewesen, wenn ich falsch bin. Also wir schauen. Und das ist aber das erste Mal, dass es nicht online heißt, sondern in Person. Und das ist auch alles so ein bisschen neu für uns, weil wir sind wunderbar die letzten 8 Talks immer so einfach nur überlegen und dann überschieben und dann vor der Kamera. Aber es ist so schön, euch zu sehen. Ja, es ist tatsächlich irgendwie schon anders. Ja.
Außen gibt es eine Frage.
Mal. Ist die Magda noch da? Und hat sie ja. Ja, ich habe da auch diese
Was hat bis jetzt
das weitergeben. Also wir freuen uns auch. Also einfach, wenn wir uns zusammen sehr gut aufteilen. Und halt ist ja nicht der ganze Nachschub. Da gibt es Leute, die halt so weit weg und ich denke, aber ja, das stimmt.
mir nicht oder?
Kann man auch, aber dann sieht man diesen Hintergrund.
Ja, jetzt ist fast ist nur den Hintergrund.
Genau, der Hintergrund ist immer nur dieses Ist jetzt so leise. Jetzt wäre noch ein bisschen quatschen. Wir warten noch auf die dritte Speakerin und das nochmal. Ich glaube, sie sagt ja, ich glaube, also wir haben auch eine International Community auch die Dateien mit dem Weg.
All right, can you hear me? Okay, I'm pretty loud. I would say we're going to start now. So welcome to our third oikos talk called Daily Lives within the series Circular Economy. Are you ready to take the loop? I would like to especially thank our three guests. Thank you so much for being there tonight with us. I'm super excited for your input later. And I also would like to thank you all that you're here and that you're taking part, and our online audience, because we are also live on YouTube right now. And I would like to ask my colleague to go to the next slide. We would like to make this event as interactive as possible. So we tried to do this Menti-link for you. You can just scan it with your phone, as some of the colleagues are already doing. And then you can raise your questions directly to our speakers. And I'm super excited for that. And I would also like to appreciate the cooperation with Kotierlich and KHG. That's the reason why we're here in this event room and can host it. And also a special thanks to my colleagues Andy and also Magda and Andy to make this whole event happening. Shortly to myself, my name is Lilia, and I'm currently the president of oikos and a PhD student of social and economic science. And tonight I have the honor to host this moderation together with my colleague Andy, and I'm going to forward.
Thanks, Lilia. As you already introduced myself, I'm Andreas Nebel. I'm a newbie to oikos. I'm glad that so many of you people are here tonight. And I'm about to finish my bachelor's degree in physics. I'd like to give you a brief introduction to oikos for those of you who don't already know. Oikos is an international student organization whose goals are to make management, business, and economy more sustainable. And as Lilia already mentioned briefly in the beginning, each semester in our talks series, we choose a topic to which we do talks to subtopics throughout the semester. Today's topic is about daily lives and how we can be more sustainable in our daily lives. Okay.
Okay, I already mentioned, so you see the QR code again, but don't worry, it will pop up like a lot of times later. And just very quickly, we're going to have a short introduction to our speakers. Then there will be inputs from their side, and then we have this open Q&A. And again, please just use this chance, just submit your questions. You can ask them anything, I heard. And then we shortly just show you what our next talk will be. Okay.
Okay, now I'd like to give a short introduction of our speakers tonight, who are Andreas Höfler, who is the initiator and organizer of the Repair Café cards, Sandra Krautwaschel, who is an author and politician, and Thomas Winkler, who is co-founder and CEO of the Afro-Books and Cards. Could you change slides, please? First, we're going to start with Andreas. As I said, he's the initiator of the Repair Café cards, whose goal is to connect people with broken everyday items with repair veterans and try to get stuff to be as long as possible in the circle as possible and save some resources. I'd like to ask you for your introduction statement, please.
Yeah. It lights green.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Then I will give you my mic.
Okay. Okay, then, as already said, yes, I'm Andreas Höfler. In my work time, I'm a software developer at a mid-sized software integrator company in the south of Graz. And in my spare time, I organized or I initiated in 2013 the Repair Café in Graz, the first one in Austria, given that name. And since that time in 2013, I'm regularly together with other people and volunteers organizing our spare time Repair Café events. As you already said, there's everyday people can come with broken goods to our events, and they're volunteers that have repair experience. Together, they undertake repair attempts, and in the best case, everything works again, and the people can prolong the life of their goods. And in the worst case, we can give them some hints and tips how to buy the next thing they need in a way that it's the next time not so vulnerable to breaking down. Yeah.
Okay. I suppose it would be better if we checked for the mic. It was running in the beginning, but now we seem to have some technical problems we better solve. May I ask you, Sandra, to continue with your little introduction statement? You're an author, politician, and eco-activist. You initiated the No Plastic experiment. Would you please tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I will try. So, yes, thank you for being here. I'm really happy to see so many people in one place again. I'm not used to it. Yes, I'm my profession is physiotherapist, but now I'm a politician. I'm member of the student parliament since 2015 for the Green Party. And yes, 2009, I started an experiment with my family, and two of my sons are also here. That's the reason why I'm really not so. It's not so easy for me to speak English because my sons always correct me. But I try. Yeah, and this experiment was to avoid plastic products and especially single-use plastic packaging in the daily life. And it started with the film Plastic Planet. I think maybe some of you have seen it. With the movie, it was 2009, and then we first wanted to do it for 1 month, but now we do it for 12 years. And my children has grown up meanwhile, two of them live in Graz. And yes, it was one reason for me to start with politics was that I saw that it's really important to do everything you can do in your daily life, but you also have to change the circumstances in the society, and maybe you have to change everything that depends on this kind of I call it Verschwendungswirtschaft.
Waste.
Yes, a kind of economy that wastes everything. So every kind of material, energy, and so on. Yes, and to change this, you have to do more than only this daily living, zero waste lifestyle. But it's really important for me to do that. But I wanted to change more, and I think yes, the situation in the world at this moment shows us how important that will be for our future. Yes, and I really like my job now. It's really, sometimes it's a hard job, but it's really, really good to. It's a good feeling to do exactly this at this moment. Yes, so that would be my first statement.
Okay. Thanks. I didn't get the mic to start again, but I guess we figured it out. Now I'd like to ask you, Thomas. You're the co-founder of Afrodutzen and the CEO, and you have a lot of teaching experience in Graz at the Karl-Franzens University, but also at Campus Nonswohl, and a lot of experience studying abroad. So I'd like you to give us a little short introduction statement.
Thank you. Well, hello everybody. Thanks for the invitation. As Sandra said, it's quite a strange feeling to be in a room with so many people, because I was not out last Saturday, as many others probably. You already mentioned it. I'm founder or co-founder of Afrodutzen, which is a fair fashion brand here in Graz. We started it 2015, and then since last year in March, we opened a shop in Sporgasse, which is somehow connected to the concept of circular economy. So we call it a recycled concept store. And the idea was that not only that the products we sell, that they are environment friendly, and produced in a fair way, but that the whole inventory can be recycled or is recycled by us. Well, I would say 95%, not 100%. Aside from that, you already said I'm also teaching here at the university in the degree of sustainable development. I'm working part-time as a scientist at the University of Applied Sciences in the field of innovation management. So actually I have many fields, to be honest. And in the company in Afroputzen, my part is actually to socialize and to organize and to do the whole accounting and the logistics. And so again, a little bit of everything, but that's actually quite nice because then we have a lot of opportunities as well. And this year, hopefully we are going to have a project which is exactly now connected to circular economy because we want to produce or to make a paper out of textile trash. So we hope that we can afford it. We will see. We have a partner who makes paper which will be seed paper. So the idea is that really textile trash, we can make this paper and then plant it. Yes, that's the idea. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the introduction statements, and I will now give the mic back to my colleague here, who will continue.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those exciting insights. I feel extremely excited because I feel we have like different fields covered, and we are going to start this discussion round. If you put the next slide, by starting with some questions that we prepared. But now again, an invitation to you guys. So please feel free to just use this QR code to now submit also your questions, because afterwards you're going to receive them and our colleague will maybe just collect them and ask you right away. We're talking about sustainable lifestyle, and I guess a lot of people are coming because they are wondering how can they change something in their daily lives to be more sustainable. To define what is sustainability, I would like to ask you guys kind of what is your own opinion on that, and also what is maybe sustainable living for you personally. Ladies first. I don't know.
Yes, it's a really difficult question because sustainability, everyone uses this term, but yes, especially in the politics, it's very often used from people who don't know what it is, I think. For me, personally, it means not to waste anything, or to try not to waste anything in my personal life. That's really not so easy in this wastefulness economy and society, because our economy is based on wasting resources and energy, as I said. So when I saw this movie, Plastic Planet, it was such a moment. I really felt that I cannot go further like that. So and when I came here for us, I thought, yes, sustainability. I don't like this term. It's so it's kind of everyone says it, but nobody does it. So especially in the economics, every big business is like yes, has its sustainability touch, but not. Yes, you cannot really. Yes, I don't know what to say. It's not really. Ja, wir wollen es auf Beitrag machen. You can't sich festmachen an irgendwas. But not to waste things doesn't fit to our economic system. So that's the problem for me with this term. So yeah, but if you try to think to use things as long as you can, not to throw them away when they're broken. Yes. So in your daily life, this could be a chance to behave sustainable, I think. Yeah. But to change the whole system, you need more than that. Yeah. You need really this idea of transformation, like this. In this kind of circular economy, I think we should come to. But there's a long way to it, I think, a really long way.
Yeah, thanks for your statement.
Exactly, I agree. It's a difficult question. At the university, I spent about 11 years, more or less, dealing with this topic for me. So, from a scientific point of view, that's always the one I use because it's the easiest for me. It's more difficult than from a personal point of view. I think from a scientific point of view, sustainability, of course, you have the three pillars and you have different models which include different levels. But from a personal point of view, I think the most important is that you, as you mentioned, not just look at economy, not just look at ecology, but also at the social dimension, and especially I think for companies that's quite difficult. And I can just say from my experience, with my company, we're very small, but for us, it's quite difficult to also be sustainable in a social way, because what does it mean? Of course, we have products where people get their fair share when they produce it, and we can donate money. But in the end, is this really social from a social perspective? Is it really sustainable or not? So I'm not sure. And also the other aspect, which is, well, it's very controversial. As a company, you need to sell something. Otherwise, well, it would be nice if it's not like this. But if we want to pay our employees, we need to sell something, and then we need to every day produce something new, because otherwise we cannot sell it. And even though it's nice if it's ecologically and if it's fair, but still we need to sell it. And in the case of textiles, well, the best shirt you can get is the one you already have, or the most sustainable one is the one you already have. But then a company like us could not really exist. Of course, we can deal with second-hand, but still that's also, well, there is an end to it, I guess, even though there's a lot of textiles around and then shirts. But so for me, it is quite hard to grasp it. I think it's really this connection between the three different aspects and the social aspect. I think it's getting more and more important. When I was at university, when I was studying, I always thought, okay, it's really about the environmental aspect, but I think the social aspect is even more important at some point. Yeah, I hope it was not confusing.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I can just say the same. What is sustainable is, it can be easy if you don't look below the first layer, but if you go a little bit deeper and what is sustainable on the long run as a society, as an individual, is very complex, and it's, I think nobody of us can even grasp even the last details of everything, the effects, what I use or how I use things, what effect will it have in 5, 10, 50 years. So sustainability as a whole, or what I try to achieve, is to not leave, as of now, too large damage for the people who follow after me and after us, for the children, the grandchildren, and so on. For now, it is a damage control. We are already at that level from my perspective, but I think it should be everybody's goal to work in a direction that the damage gets lower over time. Which means, yeah, keeping things longer in use, when new things are bought or produced, that they have as little impact to the environment as possible. Use energy consciously and educate people what effects they have at the current scientific knowledge. So when we would, for example, go back 10 years or 20 years, 15 years, it was, in petrol you should mix in a little bit of ethanol because that's more ecological. In the meantime, we learned that's probably not correct, and we should adjust to the best knowledge at the time we have.
Very nice. Wow. Thank you so much. I really liked your statements, and I think it's super interesting, like how you define it, because we saw that how many different definitions are there. But I think we can agree it's not like very easy to say what it is. I would like to come back to one point that you raised at the beginning when you had your introduction. You said something like you started also to do like more activism or like to do this political direction because you feel there is like more that you need to do. And one question that we had, which is in our eyes very interesting, is we as individuals, if we like take some knowledge with us tonight, hopefully, how can we spread this knowledge also to our friends or maybe family or environment in a way that it's not like offensive and it's not like we think we know something better, so you need to change. Do you have some tips on that or?
The most important tip is just doing it. So not only speaking about it and not to know it better than someone, but just doing it. Yes, I think that was the reason why why I could reach many people with my books. I wrote 2 books, Plastikfreie Zone, 2012, I think, and Verschwendungsfreie Zone 2019, yes, I think. And I spoke with many people about these books and about our experiences, and I think, yes, you can only really reach people when you can speak about your own experience in this field, yes, because otherwise it sounds like, yes, we should do, we could do, but I always could say, I did it, I do it, yes, and it's nice to do it. It makes my life happier to reduce this waste and to think, at least to think I do the best I can, yes, and not everyone can do the same things, yes. It depends on your situation, on your financial situation too. Especially students often don't have so much money, but you can also save money when you reduce waste. So there are many ways to go in this direction that we would need, I think. And yeah, just do it and do it with fun and don't use terms like Verzicht. Was heißt Verzicht auf Englisch?
Abstinence.
It's just to not to waste. That's not Verzicht. Yes, to avoid waste is not Verzicht. I don't know the English word for Verzicht. Maybe someone knows it.
Abstinence.
Yeah. So it's for me. We do that now since 2009, and there was not one day that I had the feeling that there is something I miss. Yes. So yeah, I think that can be important.
So to summarize it, action and then be like a role model for others. Thank you so much for that. Thomas, you raised before that a little bit about this balance stuff. You said as a company you still need to sell the stuff, but of course you also want to be as sustainable as possible, right? I'm wondering if we're like try to adapt it to maybe the students or like to our individual self. We also would like to maybe buy stuff or like have something. Maybe also it's not only a wish, but it's a necessity like grocery, food or something. How can we have this balance in life? Could you try to elaborate on that?
I could try. To be honest, I struggle with this myself. So I'm not sure how you can really have this balance in life. If I just see it from my perspective or from my company's perspective, just give you an example. We print T-shirts, which basically you can wear every day, the whole year. But of course, if we buy from other companies and sell their stuff, they have always at least 2 times a year there's a new collection, and somehow you also need it. I mean, because people come to your shop, and if you always have the same stuff, at some point no one is buying it. If I just saw coming in 2 or 3 people with a hat which is light pink, and that's quite. I mean, we sold so many light pink hats this winter. It was crazy. We had to reorder 3 times, and I'm pretty sure next winter light pink is probably not that in anymore. We will sell, I don't know, olive green, whatever. But so I'm not sure. Sorry. It's quite difficult to get the balance here, and we try. Oh yeah, that's the light pink hat. Yeah, perfect. yeah. That's one of the 5 colors of the winter. So you're quite up to date, quite trendy. Yes. That's just one example. And of course, you always get this new stuff. You have to get rid of the old stuff. And now we have just one shop and online shop as well, but still we have just one shop. And in the end, now we have a problem. We have like 5 boxes. We do not have this sale in January where everyone starts with sale. We have 1 sale or 2 sales for actually, which is then 2 weekends per year, and the rest we still have. And now we think, what can we do? It's should we just give it away? Should we give it to Nachhaltig in Graz maybe, that they can give it away? We're not sure what we can do with this stuff. It's perfectly well, you can wear it. Maybe it's just not trendy at the moment, and then it doesn't matter if it's sustainable or not. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I wasn't answering your question. And maybe I would just like to add something you said. I think it's very important what kind of wording you use, because I don't know, about a year ago, a chancellor said, well, we do not need to give up anything and everything will be perfect. If we give something up, we'll be back to the Stone Ages. I think we will need to give something up, but we get more back. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the most important thing. So of course there is some kind of abstinence or whatever you want to call it, but probably the winning is even higher. And I think this message, well, somehow we, I mean, not we as a group, but we as a society need to understand.
May I have the mic?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Sandra, you mentioned something before, especially for students, and I'm sure a lot of those people that are sustainability, because if I do my grocery shopping as usual and I go to the Spar store, then I see a lot of packaged stuff. So there's basically almost nothing that I can buy unpackaged except for fruits or vegetables. And I would really appreciate it, maybe Andreas, if you want to answer the question how people on a budget could maybe improve their lifestyle, if you'd like.
Oh, I can try, but to be honest, I am not in a position to have to live on a budget. So probably I'm not the best person to answer all aspects of it, but I think what's not only for people who live on a budget is important is to have consciousness about what do I really need. So do I really need to have the finest meat every day or 4 times a week, or is it enough if I have it on cultural on Sunday or Saturday, and also try to, like it was in when I was young, my parents often did cooking over several days, for example. So only little things went to waste. Also nowadays, what I see in some people is that the date of the best before date is treated as a don't eat it after date. So that's maybe something to bring back into the minds of the people that a best before means really it's best before, but it's not bad afterwards. So and there are shops that collect these things, for example, which are close to the best before date, and check if they are still good afterwards, and you can do you can use them afterwards. There's in class, for example, initiatives like food sharing or Too Good To Go, I think, who really take care that those things do not go into the waste bin, but really get to people who hopefully need them more than others. Or not who need them more, but who benefit more from it than others. Let's say it that way. Also, in my personal way of living, I try to use, maybe also that's why I came into repair. I try to use things as long as possible. For my daily work, I need a laptop. The last laptop I had lasted from 2007 to 2020. Yeah, 2020. Yeah, it was not a cheap one. It was a more expensive one, but I think it outlived 4 or 5 cheap ones. And then over time it pays back. If you have to live on a budget, that's of course very hard to do, and I see it as a job for the politics and for the society as a whole to enable people living on a budget to reach or come closer to the standards to the people who do not have to live on a budget. If that answers a little bit of the question at least, yeah?
Yeah, thanks. A lot. So,
I would have another question to you actually, if I may ask it, regarding the repairing thing. So you said you were trying like to repair as much as possible. I'm wondering if we cannot repair the stuff anymore, what are you doing with it, and how can it be maybe afterwards also in some kind still sustainable, recycled or something like that? And another question that I had that I now just forgot, so I just asked this one. Maybe it will pop up.
So at the repair cafe, for the things we cannot repair, we try to talk to the people and tell them we as a repair cafe, we are just a spare time initiative, and we do not have experts for everybody, but there are experts. They are harder to find than 30 years ago, but we try to connect or tell the people where can you find those repair specialists, where can you find those companies that still fix your broken stuff. Even if we cannot do it, try your luck there. Of course, they take their share of money, but most of the time it's not as expensive as people think nowadays. It's often cheaper, and for example, in cars, more and more it comes up that repairing things, especially electronics, is supported by the city or the government or the state or whatever. Just this is also one thing that we do at the Repair Cafe, try to educate people. What companies are there, what places are there, what supporting infrastructure is there that you can go to if it's not possible to fix things at our place. And if it's really no chance that it's professionally repaired, then we try at least to tell the people how do you put it into the recycling thing, how can you maybe take it apart a little bit that it's better recyclable, and or maybe if it contains parts that are commonly used, we try to reuse them or tell the people, maybe you know somebody who has a similar model of an electronic device that can still reuse the battery, for example, printers, if your printer doesn't work, maybe you still know somebody or have somebody who can use the printer cartridges.
Well, thank you so much. I don't know about the questions. Do we have already some? Okay. I would like to raise one more question because it just popped up again. It was a little bit about what you said. The most sustainable clothes that you can buy or that you can have is the one that you're already wearing. And I would like to raise the question, is it always more sustainable to not go with buying new stuff? Or are there also like options or like situations where the new one is even more sustainable?
Good answer. Well, if you talk about products in general, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure how to answer, but I'm pretty sure there might be or there are products if you use them for a long time and during this usage that they are more sustainable than if you, I don't know, have a really old fridge at home maybe, but I'm not an expert in this. Yeah, very short answer.
But I like it. Wait, okay.
I think it depends on the product, of course, yeah. And especially maybe washing machines are a good example because you need very much energy to produce it, and it depends on how long it lives. If it's more sustainable to change it against a new one that needs more energy in washing, yes. So there's no easy answer for this, of course, but normally I think it's the best way to use things as long as possible, of course, yes. And yes, that will need a really big transformation in our way of feeling good as persons, yes, especially maybe as young persons. For me, yes, when I was young, I also changed my clothes, not changed, I bought many new and really not expensive clothes. And now, in my hometown there is an Kostniksladen, yes, you know. You can bring your clothes there, you can take new clothes there, and it's really my main clothes buying. Yes, it is. And not only clothes, there are so many really new things you can use and you can bring back there. Of course, that's not the solution for everything because it's yes, it's just an expression of time. And so, yes, we see this in every moment of our lives. We see that there is too much, yes, and we have to reduce first only this too much. We don't have to. That's not a really big step for us, I think, because it's too much is not good for us. So I think I often feel it when I go in a supermarket. When I'm not very often in supermarkets, but when I'm there, it's too much for me. I think I don't need all this stuff. I just need this one, and yeah. So I like really these small shops. Of course, very often they are more expensive. So sorry. Yes, that's the problem. But the solution is to reduce this too much of everything, I think.
Thank you so much. So we have from everything too much beside the time. I guess now it's time for you guys to answer your questions. I would like to hand over this mic to my colleagues, and they're going to raise the questions now to you.
So thank you so much for the discussion till now. It was really interesting. We actually got quite a few questions on our Menti, but first I would like to ask the audience if someone wants to raise the question personally, and I could hand over the mic.
Don't be shy. Go ahead.
Nobody?
To whoever wants to answer the question, how do you not feel like you don't really have an impact when big companies waste a lot of stuff and not feel overwhelmed by, for example, I don't know when it was, but the airplanes who flew for nothing because a flight company wanted to keep their company. And I sometimes find myself standing in the supermarket and thinking and considering whether I should buy this avocado or not. And I don't know what to do.
So I think if you refer to that the individual of us does not have a big enough impact to change anything, it might feel so. But yeah, of course, the politics has the largest lever on changing environment and the framework for economies, for society, for industries. But the politics also take their example on what individuals do. So. Almost 10 years ago, when I started Repair Cafe, I did not expect it to become so widespread as it is now in Styria. I just thought, okay, with a few friends, I go together, we repair a few things, and we do this for a few times and be happy. Yeah? And now in Styria, there are 25 or so Repair Cafe initiatives that do the same that I did 9 years ago. It's in Vienna, it's in Upper Austria, it's in Lower Austria, it's in Salzburg, all over Tyrol, especially with 40 groups or so. It's all over Austria, and it all just started because a few colleagues and I had an idea because we heard of it from the Netherlands, and we wanted to do just once or twice here, and then people came up, we like what you're doing, and now it spread out to be even known in the politics that there are movements that care about the repair things. So for the right to repair is one of the known terms for that. So that also politics goes into industry and tries to influence them to make their things more repairable, or to preventing customers to repair things. And this is all. It started with a few persons and it spreads out. It's connected to so many things we could not imagine back then. So I think every individual, how little or how much one does, has an impact if enough people do it.
Yeah, really feel the same, and it was the same with our experiment, I think. When we started 2009, this avoiding plastics, single-way plastics or single-way packaging, nobody didn't really care. And I always thought, we do that now for 1 month, and then we will see. And yes, there was interest on it. So and we could inspire other people. So and. It's really important, I think, for your own motivation to speak about these things with others. So, and to find people who think similar and who do similar things. And this is really important for yourself, of course, but it can also get really power. It can get power, and as you saw it 2019 with the climate movement and Greta Thunberg. So she was also only one person who started with something. Yes, with this school strike, and yes, I think she really changed the world. She changed. She had a really big impact on many elections in this year, at least. Yes, and now it's a kind of it's different than it was. Yes, we have a government in Austria with a party that did really, I think, very very good things. Uh, yes, there were really difficult 2 years with Corona and everything, and many things happened. We didn't, the society did not even get it really. Yeah, we will see this impact in years maybe, but it's really important and it's the right thing to do it now. Yeah? And I think with this feeling, it can be easier to, yes. But I know this feeling, and maybe one aspect. So no, I forgot it. Just start with things they are easy to implement. Not start with the really difficult things because it's bad for your motivation. So, and it's really so important for me. In all these years, it was so important for me to have fun with this I do. And, to do it a little bit in an easy way, not always this, I have to do it. So, but I can do it. I'm allowed to do it. I do it for myself. So that's really important for me.
Should I add something? Well, I totally agree, especially with the last part you mentioned. But I also completely get you. I mean, when I heard the things you claimed about how stupid can you be, and how is that possible nowadays that we have so many knowledge about the climate system, and then something like this is happening. Yeah, I completely understand you, and I think also for me it's quite often really difficult, and for quite some time actually I was someone who said, okay, I try for for myself, I try something and I try to be sustainable, but I'm not at the point where you probably were a few years ago, to go out and to maybe join a party or do some kind of activism or something with more impact. But I think more people are now in this place, especially since the climate movement with Greta Thunberg, and yeah, she is the best example. One person can have an impact. So do what you like. I think that's also important. Do what motivates you, and sometimes I think we also have, at least at some level, to accept that nothing is changing tomorrow or the day after. That it takes time, and no, that's really annoying, extremely frustrating. But yeah, sometimes it just takes time. I think that's something we need to accept, and yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks for your statements and for the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very inspiring answers. So we see in the long run, we can all have an impact as individuals. Moving forward to the next questions. Anybody, don't be shy.
Okay, can I take over? Yeah. So this is about education. The question raised is how important would you rate, or how important is it to implement environmental education in lower schools? I assume that means elementary schools. So to open to anybody.
I think the very short answer is extremely important. As my at my work at the University of Applied Sciences, we had this, I don't know actually how it was called, but some kind of innovation week or something like that. So we went to schools, and the students there were between, I think, 12 and 16 or 13 and 17 or something like that, and they had to work on their own companies basically. So well, it's partnership with the WKO, with the Wirtschaftskammer, so of course you have to work on your company and come up with a business plan and stuff like that. But I think in the end, 90% of all the ideas had some kind of environmental or at least sustainable or social aspect. And that was really great to see. So the knowledge in schools or with students, at least that's my impression, is much higher than in the adult population. And at least I know from colleagues who have nothing to do with sustainability, and they told me, well, but my daughter told me that this and that, and now, I don't know, we buy plastic-free, dishwasher tubs or something like that. Of course, that's just a small step, but still it shows how important it is, and that the next generation, or the next two generations actually, that they have a different idea of sustainability in general.
Maybe just one aspect to add. I think it's not only about the education itself, starting at a certain grade, but also for the science community to make the difficult things to understand understandable in easy words, not only for the children but also for the general population. Because sustainability or all the things that come around with it, CO2, how is this, or how much CO2 is produced by something in logistics, in production, in resource gathering, and so on. This is complete insane for an individual to understand or even find out. So it's on the science community, in my opinion, to express it in easy terms, update and correct statements that are learned that change over time when new things are found out, and on the politician side to enable a framework so that people can more easily find out if I buy a snack in a grocery shop, how much of a, for example, a CO2 footprint do I leave with that? Or how much impact is it when I get my energy from this or that energy provider?
Thank you. So I hope that question was sufficiently answered. Not you may speak now. No? Okay. Then we move forward with the next question. This is to you, Sandra. Do you think that companies do not get enough political support to operate more sustainably? Or should they get more support?
No, political support. I'm not quite sure what this is meant, because
I think if there is enough support, if a company wants to operate or to make a transition to become more sustainable,
I think support. No, I understand. I think the ökosoziale Steuerreform should be a kind of support for that. But of course, it could be more, and yes, the CO2 tax is not high enough, I think, but now we have the discussion because of the war and gas and Putin and so on, that energy is getting more and more expensive, and now the WKO wants to stop the ökosoziale Steuerreform again, and so we have always the same discussions. So, and it's like it's not circular economy, but it's a circle of what?
It's a circle of arguments.
Yes, of arguments. They come again and again, and so we cannot change anything if we always stay in this circle. So this kind of support we all will need to have a chance to make this transformation in a, you said it before, in a way that men and women in this country and in all over the world can stand it. So it has to be, it's a transformation not for the environment, but for us as human beings. We have to do it for us. So I think that's the most important aspect for me, that we have to reach the people and more people that don't stay in this circle, but go outside of this circle and really help to make this transformation together. I think we can only do it together, and we have to, of course, to reach more people and to make it easier for people, but also for companies to make this. So, and this is the first step, or one of the first steps for me is this ökosoziale Steuerreform. But we have to do it now, really, and not to stop it again.
Thank you so much for your answer. Do you have something?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question for that. How do you think, or what can we demand from politics, actually? And how can we, as individuals especially, make ourselves heard if we're not like wanting to go out into the street like Greta Thunberg? How can we reach you politicians with our demands? It's like open to everyone, also Sandra, if you wanna, like, whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah. No, I think it depends on majorities in politics. So you have to fight for majorities in a democracy. So we are not like Russia. I'm really happy about that. Yeah. We don't have a Putin who says just do that. So we are democracy, and we have to fight for majorities, and that's the reason why we need so many compromises. But we also need this, yes, Hartnäckigkeit, staying on this.
We need stamina.
Yeah, and that's the reason I said it at the beginning, why I like my job at the moment so much, because I can now really show to myself that it's not easy, but it is really so important to do that now. So yeah, and I think it's also a little bit maybe an answer on your question, because you can get really much back if you do that. You get power, you get inspiration of other people, you get motivation, and yeah, I think that should be our way now. It's the only way to change this world and our own lives, of course. Too.
So would you say voting is like the first step?
Sorry?
To go and vote?
Well, yes, of course. Also, voting is one very, very important step. And yes, we see in other countries what happens if voting is not important anymore, or it's just a fake. So, of course, this, but then also accept that you cannot, in democracy, you have always to get majorities for these things you want to change. And that's the job of politicians, of course, to fight for majorities. Yes.
Just would like to add something. I think, in my opinion, it's always important to have a bottom up and then top down approach, and it always need to go hand in hand. Because just as an example, those climate conferences where hundreds of people fly to one place and discuss for 2 weeks. I think they are kind of important, but in the end, those who are demonstrating outside and then do little things, also without demonstrating, they are equally important. And therefore, I think it needs to go hand in hand. And in the end, quite often, politicians do what, again, the majority wants, and therefore, if there are enough people want to change something with plastics, then it will help. It will happen, and if I think that's the only way. But of course, if you say you don't want to go out to the street, I think there are many different other things you can do. Just small things, which then hopefully also add up.
One more question. If anybody wants to jump in and ask a question, yes. The one with the pink hat.
This is super good, having time to think while the mic is delivered. We had this individual level, and then coming to the politician level. And I was reminded of one thing you said, Thomas, before about trends. And there are things that are just on vogue right at the moment. And I'm wondering, how can we drive trends so that we have more impact? Like 2019 with Fridays for Future, there was a huge trend for sustainability. Is a trend something that we should use to have political impact or impact on many lives? Or is it actually something we should avoid? We should constantly do the same thing and be maybe the odd ones in the room. What should we do? And maybe if we should drive trends, how can we do that?
I also used the time when the mic was delivered to think about it. I don't have an answer. I don't know. I think, of course, in some ways, trends can help, but in other ways not. I'm pretty sure this answer is not helping you now. I don't know. Honestly, because if I would know, maybe I could do something about that. I think at some point trends maybe transform to something more stable. But to be honest, that's not really my field of expertise. But maybe I'm pretty sure that there's some scientific clarification for that. But if we look at again at Greta Thunberg, I think nowadays it's still activism, but nowadays if you talk to probably what's the word? I think boomers, is this correct? Yeah, the baby boomers. Probably 5 years ago, the whole climate topic, well, everyone knew about it, but that's it. And now I think there was this trend, or it still is this trend, I'm not sure about that. Maybe it's not a trend anymore. Maybe it's here to stay. Hopefully it's here to stay, because it's necessary, definitely. So maybe we can use trends and somehow try to transform it to something more stable. It was probably a bit abstract, so I hope I could help you.
And maybe can repair cafes be more trendy?
They're more trendy than
I think they are quite trendy.
So, I'm not a marketing expert, and I'm also not a social media expert, so all I can do for my part is to, if interested people come up to us, to tell them how they can do the things on their own, to tell them, it was not so hard as it may seem in the beginning. Just start with something, try to do something, you will fail, you will learn, you will improve. Just keep a little bit stubborn and keep on it and go on. Don't let yourself get down by the first pressure that you get. It doesn't care anyway. So no, it does care and it does change. Don't let your hopes down at the first blockers. Yeah.
And maybe to this, I think here politics can also support this transformation, because if you reduce taxes on reparation, yes, you can bring more people to go to this experts who repair things. So it can be it can help to make it trendy maybe a little bit. But of course, one aspect is also that people who are in the position to buy maybe very trendy and expensive clothes or stuff, any kind of stuff, they should start not to do it because people who are in a position they don't have much money and they feel maybe a little bit outside. Yes, you cannot expect that people like this start with this transformation. So it's maybe people who are in a good position can get a trendsetter easier. Yes, if maybe it was Brad Pitt starts not to buy plastic. Now, Brad Pitt maybe is not your generation, but yeah, if someone like Brad Pitt starts not to fly anymore, maybe yes, not to use aeroplanes anymore. So I think he could be a trendsetter for this. So of course it's important that yes, people who have a position to reach many others start with something that's really a good thing, of course. Yeah, there are not so many of them, but maybe someone of you can get such a person. And yes, I think also Greta Thunberg was such a person. She was it. She changed more, I think, than any politician in this time, yes, in the year 2019.
So I think we have time for one more question.
Thank you. You talked a lot about repairing before as well, and also Andreas mentioned the right of repairability. And I'm just wondering, because I feel like it's a trend that things become less repairable, that, I don't know, components in your computer are completely glued together and you can't repair anything. The same is for cars, you can't switch something anymore. For bikes, then. So this would be a great law if this is enforced, but do you think this is actually realistic, that this law will come soon and will work like this? And if not, are there any kind of alternatives you can think about how we can make companies to act differently, to build, I don't know, different kind of computers, going back to, I don't know, MacBook Air 2015, where you could actually switch something, so I don't know.
Okay, so the question if the right to repair actually can change anything. I think so, very well, because if there is not a law or if there is not a need to repair things, then you design differently. And if there is a legislation to force companies or to motivate them to design repairability into their goods by giving them a rating or something, like it is already in place in, I think, in France, which is improvable, but it is the first step. The companies jump the train and try to design, and of course they try to put a little bit of greenwashing on that. That's clear. Also, if the right to repair is there, it offers the possibility for repair companies to grow. Currently, if things cannot be repaired or it's very expensive to repair them, it's hard for a company that offers repairing stuff to make it feasible. And if there is the right to repair, and this is it has to be provided by the producers to other companies, not only their certified ones, but the whole industry. The industry can grow in that direction. If you mentioned the MacBook Air before, a MacBook Air was never repairable. Maybe you need the MacBook Pro.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. MacBook Air is something that is a trend to cram the most functionality in the in the little space as possible. This is all over. Cars get intelligent, fridges get intelligent. I don't know. Smartwatches can order your beer for you without even knowing or something. Yeah, I don't know. But this inflation of functionality also comes with a complexity that is unbelievable. And this complexity makes everything so hard to repair. So this is maybe for the consciousness of the consumers to, before I buy something, to think over if do I really need all of the functionality that is built into the thing that it can offer to me, but maybe I will never use. Do I have a smartphone with a thermal camera, with 4 or 5 lenses on the background, with wide angle camera, with night camera? Do you really need all of those things? This should be considered before buying. I would never need a thermal camera on my mobile phone. I would not need a high-speed camera for sports, because this is for professionals, not for me. And if this is not even in my phone, then it cannot break. What's not there cannot break. So the right to repair also, I think, can support companies with getting also in the design phase the consciousness. Do we really need to build in everything which is probably used by only 1 or 2% of the consumers, or do I make it a little bit more spacey but more repairable in that sense? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the interesting questions and answers. To close things up, I would kindly ask you to maybe give a little conclusion statement and one or two tips that the audience and us could implement in our daily lives, and how we could be more sustainable. Maybe you want to start.
I was afraid that I have to start. Well, I concluded. Thank you for inviting me. No, honestly, I think what kind of tips? I'm pretty sure a lot of you are quite environmental, sustainable, conscious, and I think a lot of interesting things were mentioned. You said kind of stay true to yourself, do what you think is important. Try to find the motivation, even if it's sometimes frustrating. And then also consider that also small things can make a difference in the impact. Maybe not at the moment you do it, but maybe 2 hours later, 2 years later. Yeah.
Yes, thank you also very much for this discussion and your interesting questions. Yes, my tips, I already said. I think the most important tip is start with the things that are easy to implement. That's really important, I think, for the motivation, and not to stop again soon. So when you want to change things in your daily life, just start to change things in your daily life. You should start with the easy things, and then go further and further, not stop anymore. So that's the most important, I think. Yes, and then yes, you can of course read my books. There are many tips. Yes, but these are also only examples. Yes, you can also start with something completely different. Yes, there is not only one way to change the world. So you have to find your own way to change it, and I think that's really important too.
Okay, yeah, thank you too. I think I already answered it partly in my last answer. So if you buy something, if you need something, or if you feel you need something, try to think, do I really need it? At least once. You can still buy it if you think, yeah, it's important for you, but just this one thought at the beginning, do I really need it? This spark in your head, in your mind is, I think, a good point to get into so many other things. And also on the other end of the consumer cycle, if something is broken, also do I need to buy a new one, or do I at least try once? Do I call an electrician, or do I call a company? How much is it to repair? Maybe it's less than you expect. Likely it's less than you expect. And then you have just a decision, is it still affordable? Do I try to repair it? Do I repair it and keep it for another 60% of its lifetime? Or do I buy a new one, hopefully with a less ecological footprint, which gives me 100%? But this is up to the power of the consumers, the mind of the consumers.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the nice conclusions. I'm sure we've learned a lot of interesting things tonight. Thanks for being here. Thanks also to the audience for being here. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. I'd like to briefly mention the next oikos event that takes place at Friday in Das Liebig at 5 p.m. It's a meet and greet. If you want to join or get to know a few of the other oikos, then you're most welcome to join. And yeah, I think the next talk, of course, is at April 23rd. Again, here. You want to? The buffet is open. Yeah.
Don't be shy. Again,
Es steht nicht dabei, Jump to the